There's really nothing better than a great villain. And the NBA is no different. Whether it's their trash talk or dirty plays, there's some players you just have to hate.
Well, it's always more fun to hate than to love. Gotta have someone out there that you can direct all your frustration, all your anger at, and we're gonna rank the 10 best in NBA history.
Before we start talking about the best villains in NBA history, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. First though, let's start with some honorable mentions. Some guys that are definitely hated but didn't quite make the cut. You got Trae Young first. He's a decent villain, but really only if you're a Knicks fan.
Yeah, I don't really care about Trae. You care about Trae.
I do.
I don't.
Chris Paul, extremely hated by other players. Honestly, an underrated super dirty player. He just really kind of seems fake.
But he kind of gets memed on too much with like the CP0 rings. It's like,
right.
You can't really take him that seriously. And it's kind of the same thing for Pat Bev. Like, he's a great trash talker. He's a great defender, but you cannot take him seriously.
Yeah, if he was like an all-NBA type player, he's good enough to make the list with his trash talk and dirty plays, but he's just not that good.
No.
Embiid, he says he likes being an asshole, but I don't know, like he's good and he is kind of an asshole, but I wouldn't really say he's like this huge villain. For the modern standards he is, but
He's more frustrating and annoying than he is like a villain.
Bruce Bowen though, all-time dirty player, really kind of invented that whole thing of putting your foot in players' landing spaces and spraining their ankles. But again, just a role player.
Kind of before our time too, so we don't have a big emotional attachment to him.
Right.
And then Joey Crawford, because Tim Donaghy literally fixed games and somehow he probably still has a better rep than Joey Crawford. Everyone has a bad Joey Crawford story. Everyone hates him.
At number 10, we have Kevin Durant, and specifically we're talking about the Warriors era, because he went from one of the most loved players in the league. He was young, he was MVP, he had that moment with his mom, the "you're the real MVP," him and Russ loved each other, and then he joined the 73-win Warriors after losing to them, blowing a 3-1 lead in the conference finals the year prior.
He had that "my next chapter" thing in the Players Tribune, still being memed to this day. I get you don't want to do the decision again. You don't want to repeat the mistake that LeBron made, but come on.
Come on, man.
How could you think this could possibly be received well?
It's so funny. Any player joins a team, like joins a stacked team or just joins another team, it's always the "my next chapter," just Photoshop with the new team.
Well, they still do it with Durant anytime he loses to someone.
And then there was the whole Twitter burner whole thing going on, the KD can't win a championship with those cats, which was just the funniest thing ever.
Well, the funniest thing about the burner account is that he tried to deny it.
He did.
He's like, that's just how I speak. I'm like, brother, no one except The Rock speaks in third person like that.
And again, it's like a burner, like just tweet it from the main account. He kind of does now, but like just say like, yeah, I couldn't win with that team. That's why I dipped.
Is what it is. Now I'm in Golden State.
And really, he's done nothing since the Golden State thing to make him any more liked. He's just kind of joined other teams, had super teams, hasn't won a championship. So really hasn't improved his reputation since then.
Still talks trash to people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Number 9, we got Ron Artest. He's obviously on here for the Malice at the Palace. Probably the worst day from a PR perspective in the NBA's history. Got the guy suspended for 86 games, lost $5 million in salary, but that's not all he did. Apparently, he broke Michael Jordan's ribs in a pickup game in 2001. This was like 38-year-old Michael Jordan, so why?
I think he didn't even realize he did it. Just the next day, Michael Jordan was like, dude, you broke my ribs. He's like, oh, my bad.
I mean, knowing Mike, that could have been like a mental like deception tactic or something. But what he did do is he straight up elbowed James Harden in the face for no explicable reason whatsoever.
Literally just no reason. Like
he fucking winds up too.
Harden ran into him just out of nowhere. He just like bam, just completely elbowed him in the face. That was ridiculous. He said when he played for the Bulls, he used to drink Hennessy at halftime. Not really a villain thing, but just like, what the hell is this dude doing?
That's kind of badass.
Yeah, that is kind of badass.
It's like a mob boss thing, kind of.
Pants Paul Pierce during a game.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm 100% down with that. He wanted to choke Kobe during the 2009 playoffs.
Not really down with that.
Yeah, not really. The guy was just completely unhinged on the basketball court. Now at number 8, we got Kobe Bryant. And I think a lot of people really remember him fondly. Obviously, he tragically passed away. He's an all-time legend. If you're a Lakers fan, you have no hate for Kobe whatsoever.
But we're Blazers fans, so them.
Yeah, so if you're a Blazer fan, a Celtics fan, a Kings fan,
Spurs fan.
Yeah, Spurs fan, honestly, almost any other fan of any team, Kobe just destroyed your team on a nightly basis.
And had fun doing it.
Yeah, he had fun doing it, and you had to hate him.
You had to hate him. I mean, in 2001, he told a 76ers fan, we're going to cut your hearts out on Wednesday. First of all, it's a very badass thing to say.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Sixers fan, like, Philly was his hometown too. Didn't apologize for it. Basically ran Shaq out of LA, kind of, because they just couldn't stand each other, and the Lakers bet on Shaq. Of course, he had that amazing commercial with Nike, The Conductor, which, by the way, tip of the cap that the Blazers fans are the ones there that are saying, you suck, Kobe! But it basically, like, paid homage to just how much opposing fans hated him and how much he just revels in it.
Yeah, he just loved it. He didn't care. He just loved being the cold-blooded assassin, the Black Mamba that would just basically rip your heart out.
Number 7, we got Dennis Rodman, a dude who literally started his career on a team that was called the Bad Boys, so he probably was a little bit bad. They were the originators of the quote-unquote Jordan rules, i.e. just foul the shit out of Mike every time he comes in the lane, so that didn't get them the best rep. But there were other things, like in 1996 when he headbutted a referee, sure.
That's absolutely insane. Like, imagine a modern player doing that, headbutting a referee, and he didn't just headbutt him, like, during the game. This is after he already got ejected.
You're done for the year.
Yeah, if you are done for the year. Next year, he had to top that. A cameraman didn't even trip him. Dennis Rodman just tripped over the cameraman, so he decided to kick him in the nuts. The cameraman then gets pulled out of the arena on a stretcher, and Rodman would get suspended for 10 games and pay a $200,000 settlement for that.
So that's not a fine. He got sued for that.
Yes, he got sued.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I'm sure the cameraman was kind of playing it up. Like, I don't know if he needed a stretcher to get carried out from getting kicked in the nuts.
Bro, I don't know. Dennis is a big man. He kicks you in the
is.
nuts. I wouldn't want to be that cameraman. That's all I'm saying.
Also, I know you'll love this. Obviously, him and Karl Malone used to go at it in the finals.
Yep.
And they ended up wrestling against each other. I didn't know about that.
In WCW.
Love that.
And Dennis Rodman was hanging out with Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and the NWO, the biggest villains in wrestling. Like, he f***ing loved that too. Like, he lived it up.
At number 6, LeBron James, and again, this is era specific, the Heat era. LeBron, just like KD, went from one of the most beloved players, playing for his hometown team, the best player in the league, but then he decided, you know what, I'm gonna go to a new team, join the Heat, and I'm gonna broadcast it during an hour-long special called The Decision.
Yeah, we have a whole retrospective on this, so if you want more, you can go check that out. I'm just gonna say, personally, for me, I was still a fan.
Of course.
I stayed loyal, but LeBron was so damn hated. Like, I remember when I was young, I went to a basketball camp, and of course, you know, everyone introduces themselves, and they asked everyone who their favorite NBA player was. And when I said LeBron James, there were audible groans from the other kids. That's how much this guy was hated.
Oh yeah, he was so hated. And if this happened today, maybe it's not a huge deal. Players change teams all the time, but this was a different era. And he had some pretty good villain moments for the Heat. There was when he won his second title, just looking smug as hell doing it.
He looked so f***ing smug.
He had that one dunk on Jason Terry, just ended Jason Terry and then taunted him afterwards. And then, we made the video about it before, his look on his face during Game 6 of the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, just all-time villain moment.
It is an all-time villain moment, but weirdly enough, I feel like that's the point where he started to win people back.
It was. He won me back that game, honestly. I was like, damn, this dude, he's just a legend. You can't even hate anymore.
Number 5 is LeBron's business partner, Draymond Green, though, who I definitely can still hate on. This dude is our generation's Dennis Rodman. Like, he's a role player who plays his role to absolute perfection. He is the best villain on probably the most hated team in the NBA right now. And I mean, the list of Draymond dirty you can write a book with it. Shoved Harden during Game 1 of the 2018 Western Conference Finals to, quote, send a message, not just because he's a prick.
Yeah.
Kicked Steven Adams in the during the 2016 Western Conference Finals, punched LeBron in the same area during the NBA Finals that got him suspended, and lest we forget this past year, stomped on Sabonis' chest.
Basically, he just does a new dirty play like every year. Gotta add on top of the legacy. And
gotta one-up yourself, too. You go from kicking people in the nuts to stamping on their chest.
We'll see what he does next year, but he's also an all-time trash talker. Who could forget the Paul Pierce, they don't love you like that, you ain't getting no farewell tour?
Again, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I will defend him on that till I die. There was, after the 2015 NBA Finals, the celebration when he did the "we won," yup. Klay Thompson, yup. Cavaliers, nope. They suck, yup. And he's just always beefing with opposing fans. Draymond, absolutely hate him, but I love the fact that he plays the villain role just perfectly.
Lest we forget, he knocked out his own teammate, too.
That is true. Completely forgot about that.
And he forced KD out of Golden State by saying, "We won without you. We won before you. We won without you. We're going to win after you." And you know what? He was correct.
Yeah, that's the thing about him. He does all this, and he's kind of right the entire time.
He backs it up.
Yeah. Now at number 4, Isaiah Thomas, and he might be the most hated player of all time amongst other players. An amazing quote he had is he said Larry Bird, if he was black, would just be another guy. Which is just...
That's a quote.
Yeah, an absolutely crazy take. I don't know what the hell he was thinking saying that.
I have to ask you, what the hell were you thinking? What the hell were you thinking?
Wasn't that right after the famous game where Larry Bird stole the pass from him?
I think so.
And threw it to Dennis Johnson. It's like right after that. So Larry makes one of the most iconic plays in the history of the NBA. And Isaiah's like, well, if he's black, he'd just be a guy.
Yeah, he'd just be a normal guy. Wouldn't be anything, you know, 3-time MVP, champion, yeah, whatever.
Busting our asses in this series currently.
He also led the walk-off in the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals. You beat the Bulls for, what, 3 years in a row? Mike shakes your hand after, and then they finally beat you after all these years. He's like, nah, we're just gonna leave before this is even over.
Also, in all those series, you're bludgeoning Mike nearly to death in each of these series just to try to keep him down.
And then the moment we all know, he was left off the Dream Team in '92, basically because everyone hated him, specifically Mike. Just hated him.
Apparently Mike was like, if Isaiah's on the team, I'm not. And look, Isaiah's a great player, but Mike, Isaiah, the choice is easy.
Yeah, and I specifically hate him because this dude was one of the worst GMs of all time during the Knicks era and completely ruined the Knicks in the 2000s.
Yeah, he completely ruined the Knicks. It's not just that the Knicks are a poorly run franchise run by an idiot, but you know, it was all Isaiah's fault.
Yes, it was.
Number 3, not a player this time, but he deserves to be on here. It's David Stern. And look, David Stern did a lot for the league. The NBA expanded significantly under his watch, bunch of new teams. We expanded overseas, like just the reach and the profile of the NBA expanded tremendously under David Stern. That's all fine and good. That said, a lot of controversies. The 85 draft lottery, I don't think it was fixed, but a lot of people do. The dress code, which just a little bit underlying of racism there. I'm not gonna say anything, just a little bit. The Tim Donaghy stuff, the 2002 Kings-Lakers series, just favoritism of big markets in general. There's that iconic Lakers versus Lakers Dream Finals quote. One of the stupidest quotes from a sports executive I've ever heard.
And I love the moment, his last ever draft, he's just getting booed the entire time. He's kind of honestly loving it. At one point he's like, we had to tell our foreign viewers that the boo is a sign of respect in America.
Oh yeah.
The dude, he knew he was hated. He really didn't give He's just like, I'm gonna run the league, and honestly, he did a great job running the league.
He did. My favorite is from, I think it's his last draft where he's getting booed and he's about to read the card and he still's got his eyes on it, and then he just with his other hand is like, come on,
exactly.
You guys can do better.
The same draft, he was kind of just loving it that moment. He's like, you know what, I'm going out. I'm gonna go all out.
Number 2, we got Kevin Garnett. In my opinion, maybe the most intimidating player to ever play against, like, not only just his skill, but his raw energy, his trash talk. I mean, he called Charlie Villanueva a cancer patient.
That is, I mean...
that might be too far.
It's definitely too far. Charlie Villanueva apparently has some disease that makes him bald, so he called him a cancer patient, which...
it's a bit much.
It's a bit much, and you want to know what's even more much that I honestly kind of hate KG for this is Tim Duncan was shooting a free throw at the free throw line. I think it was during the 1999 NBA playoffs, and he said, "Happy Mother's Day, mother." Which, the reason he said that, Tim Duncan's mother passed away from breast cancer one day before his 14th birthday.
Oh, what the f***, KG?
Yeah.
Dude, what the f***?
He made Glenn Davis cry during a game when they were teammates. I mean, I know he's called the big baby, but god damn, dude.
He's like, you gonna live up to your goddamn nickname.
And then there's constant stories of Joakim Noah and him, but apparently Joakim Noah just loved KG. He went up to him during his first game to tell him like, hey man, I'm a huge fan of you, you're my role model. And KG responded, F you, Noah.
Never meet your heroes, ladies and gentlemen. Me.
Kevin Garnett, though, he's the GOAT trash talker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just all time. Like you said, the most intimidating basketball player maybe in the history of the entire game.
Number one, though, KG might have been the most intimidating. Definitely wasn't the most hated, though. That's Bill Lambert, the enforcer for the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Not only was Bill Lambert hated, he loved it. Dennis Rodman, who was already on this list and had his fair share of incidents, he said of Bill Lambert, he was more than a thug, but that's what we'll remember him for. Because yeah, this man was hands down the dirtiest player in NBA history.
Well, yeah, Michael Jordan called him the dirtiest player. Him and Larry Bird hated the hell out of each other, still hate each other to this day. There was the moment in the 1987 playoffs where he just straight up tackled Larry Bird. Like, you look back at the play and you're like, what the actual is this?
We gotta stop him somehow.
Yeah, Larry Bird threw the basketball back at him and they just completely hated each other. He literally had a basketball game named after him called Bill Lambert's Combat Basketball.
My favorite story about him and Larry Bird, though, is apparently it was like during an all-star game or something. You know, they see each other on a bus and Bill Lambert's like, how are you, Larry? And Larry responds with, you, Bill.
Yeah. He was just the most hated player. He was rich as hell, came from affluent background.
Came from money, yeah went to Notre Dame.
Money. Wasn't like all the other players in the league, was dirty as hell, was a flopper, and he just loved being dirty. So what do you guys think? Who is your favorite NBA villain of all time? If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like. And hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.